Tag Zuhörer, ich begrüße euch im Namen von der Bund Organisation in Melbourne. In die kommenden Wochen wollen wir euch bringen kurze Diskussionen wegen verschiedener Unionen, was haben zu tun mit Yiddish Leben und Kultur. My name is Allan Preiss, and this is the first of a series of short podcasts and discussions on a range of topics related to Jewish life and culture. As the quote goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So we are using our enforced isolation to reach out and connect people in new and different ways. Those of you familiar with Shalom Aleicham's classic book, Mottel Peisid Dem Chazans, will remember Mottel's disastrous foray into making and selling kvass. Hopefully, we will have more success than he did.
In dem Beis HaMikdash, in a winkel heiter, sitzt die Almone, Passion allein. Ihr ben Jochid und Idalen, wiegt sie geseiter und singt ihm zum Schlafen a Liederle schein. Ai lu lu lu, unter Liederles
Today I'm speaking with the Bashevis Singers, Evie Gawenda, Chasky Gawenda and Gideon Preiss. And I've got to declare a vested interest here. Gideon is my son and Chasky and Evie are my first cousins. So if you detect some bias during this podcast, you shouldn't be surprised. So if you'll just indulge me with that, I'd like to get started talking with the Bashevis Singers. I want to start off with Chasky and Gideon. Chasky and Gideon, apart from being part of the Bashevis Singers, are also the driving force between Husky, an indie folk group that's been going for about 8 years now and has had quite strong success and has toured the world with their music. But the Preiss and Gawenda collaboration on music projects, in fact, started about 25 years ago. Now, Husky might remember this better than Gideon, given the age, but it began with a band that Husky and Benjamin, Gideon's older brother, formed, and that practiced out of the garage of our house in Wheatley Road in Ormond. So, Hus, can you tell us a little bit about that fantastic music enterprise that you started with Benjamin?
Yeah, I remember that well. I think we were in year 8 when we started that band, so we would have been 13. And we begged you guys to let us use your garage as a rehearsal room, which we spent weeks lining with carpet and empty egg cartons to try to soundproof it. I don't think it had any effect at all. I think the neighbors still suffered greatly. But that was my first band. And yeah, we had magical times there, Benj and I, playing, mostly grunge and heavy metal music. And I remember Gideon was often outside, listening in, hoping to get inside, but probably not allowed. And yeah, they were great times.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Gideon also hanging around, hoping to be invited in, but very rarely, if ever, was. A 13 or 14-year-old brother doesn't want his 9 or 10-year-old little brother hanging around. Now, you guys may not be aware, but this musical experiment came to an inglorious close when Sandy happened to go next door to one of the neighbours and you guys were practicing, and for the first time she got some sense of the nightmare that was being imposed on these poor people whose garage almost bordered on their living room. It was only a couple of metres away, and I think it was at that stage that we began to take the egg cartons off the wall and the carpet was pulled down. And that experiment morphed into something a little bit different.
Yeah, well, actually, just on that, my memory is that the drum kit
literally backed right onto their living room, and there was probably not much more than a meter in between the drums and their living room. So yeah, they would have copped a fair bit. But
if they're
I'd
out there
also like
listening,
to add.
thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say, if they're out there
Yeah,
listening,
thank
thank
you.
you. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Oh, there you go. We
That's
should.
true. Actually, I bumped into them about 2 months ago at the Paran market, and they were really lovely. And they didn't say anything about the music, but they were nice. So
No,
that's something.
They were still too traumatized to be able to think about music, Husk. Okay.
Poor guys.
What I'd like to do now is switch our focus to the Bashevis Singers. The album came out, probably about 3 years ago now?
Yeah, 2016.
16, yeah, so 4 years ago.
Right. When did you guys start thinking about doing something with Yiddish music?
I think we've always thought about doing something with Yiddish music. I mean,
we've always been involved in Yiddish music in some way in the community anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Evie and I have been singing Yiddish songs together since I was a little kid. And, with our mum, who's a great singer as well, and with our family, our extended families at Yom Tovim, and whenever we got together, we sang Yiddish songs. So we were always singing Yiddish songs together. And I think for many, many years, we dreamt about or fantasized about doing a Yiddish recording.
We did.
It just took us a little while to get it going. And my memory is that what kind of gave us the little push we needed was we were asked to do a gig at Mullumbimby Music Festival, of all places, a Yiddish gig. Is that right, guys? Do you remember that? Harry Angus asked us.
Yeah, that's right. So Harry was curating, was involved in curating the festival, and like you said, we'd always been singing Yiddish music together. And I guess he had heard us at different parties and at gatherings.
Harry had also played with us.
He played with us.
We did some little like gigs and like private wedding things where Harry and Jules and like a few other people played with us in a band, and we did Yiddish music, and Harry knew that we did. He'd seen us, but we also played with him for a while.
Okay, so you started off singing Yiddish music at home or on skiff camps or at extended family gatherings. Why was it so important to you to actually record this?
Well, I mean, we grew up with some recorded Yiddish music. We listened to your kind of Aaron Lebedevs and your Chava Albersteins and your Theodore Bickels. But, that felt like kind of music that had been recorded in another time and for another time. We didn't grow up with recordings by people in our generation. We didn't have recordings that we loved and wanted to, we wanted to create something that we wanted to listen to. We didn't have that. That didn't exist in our generation. And I think that part of the initiative was to try to create that.
Right. Husky and Evie, you spoke before about the music that you sang at home and at Yom Tovim and at Anne. Your mother is a beautiful singer, as is her sister Faye. But we can take it back even further. Your grandparents, Chaitje and Lerman, everybody always called him Lerman. His name was, I think it was Yankel, but it was Lerman. So you come from, if I can say it this way, kind of Yiddish music royalty. How important was that in the way you thought about doing an album like this?
Well, we definitely grew up with stories about our Bubba and Zayda playing music together, being the life of parties. Zayda Laumann would take out his garmoshka at parties, and Bubba would sing with him.
And he wrote songs. Zayda wrote.
And he wrote songs. So we grew up with those stories, and they were not in my life for very long at all. So
for me, Yiddish songs were a kind of connection to them. It was a way I felt like I could access them and connect with them.
For the three of you, you are grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. How significant was that in your decision to record this album?
I suppose I feel like for us, we're kind of the custodians of this music. They're not songs that many people know anymore and that many people sing. And I'm not like a kind of expert in Yiddish. One of the things that I can do is express my love of Yiddish and Yiddishkeit through music and through these songs. And it's something that I can do to connect myself and ourselves and our community and our family to the past and to the present and into the future.
In one of we recorded 2 original songs on our album. They were poems by my dad, Michael Gawenda, which I put to music. And in one of the songs, Fadir Alid, there's a line that talks about Yiddish being a Fayosem Tesprach, an orphaned language. And I think that's because so many of the people who spoke Yiddish perished in the Holocaust. And so I think it made it extra important for us to record these songs, not just because they're great songs and we want to record great songs, but also because they're great songs that are in danger of disappearing. And we're going to make sure that they don't disappear. And to some extent we already have, we've recorded these songs, and already our children and nephews and nieces are listening to them and singing along to them. And they've become...
Sorry, fast.
No, and they've become an important part of their lives. So, that was a really important thing for us to do.
Evie, can I ask you a question? Probably 30 odd years ago, you were involved in Niggin, where you sang a song that your grandmother had sung, I think, in 1938 in the film Mir Kommen On.
Yeah.
Right. So in Niggin, there's the footage of Hacha singing this song as a 12-year-old. Then Anne comes on, and then you came on. What did that feel like?
I was very overwhelmed. I think I was 12 when Niggin was on, and it was just after Bubba had died. So I was also, going to say before, a lot of those Holocaust survivors aren't here anymore. The people that survived, like, they're gone. So, Bubba had just died, and the footage is of Bubba singing at the Madame Sanatorium in the movie Mir Kommen On, and she's 12 in the film, so I think we were the same age, and it's an amazing close up of her face, and we'd planned it. It was part of it was written into the show, and so obviously we'd rehearsed it and planned it, but being on stage live, and actually I've got goosebumps thinking about that now, being on stage live and performing it was so overwhelming and emotional. I just remember the feeling in the whole auditorium, and the feeling from me and Mum on the stage. Mum and I were, we couldn't hug, but we were together on the stage. And I just remember feeling the enormity of it as well, just how it connected to everything that was, special to me and my family. And my Bubba had sung it to me when I was a little girl, and she'd sung it to my mum when she was a little girl, and watching myself as a 12-year-old girl singing it, and then knowing, when I watch it now, knowing that now I've sung it to my little boy, and it's quite amazing.
Okay, so I get a really strong sense of why this mattered to you to do this album. How did you pick the name Bashevis Singers?
I can't really remember.
You know what, Husk?
I mean, obviously...
I think you picked it, Husk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a clever little play on words. But Isaac Bashevis Singers is a Nobel Prize winning Yiddish writer, so a very, very important writer in the Yiddish canon, and singing is what we do. So the Bashevis Singers. I can't remember.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect. It's a beautiful name. I remember talking with your parents before that you decided to do this. You didn't know what to call yourselves. And then I think I got either an email or a message from your father, from Michael, saying they're going to call themselves the Bashevis Singers. And I thought it was remarkable. So well done on that one, Huss. So you've got your name, you've got the idea. How did you pick the tracks that you were going to play, that you were going to record? Some of them you sang as kids, you might have learnt on skiff camp, but there are others that I'd never heard before. How did you pick them?
We, like you said, some of the songs were songs that we had grown up with. So I think we wanted to include some of the Yiddish classics as part of the collection of songs. I think we also wanted to pay homage to the great Yiddish writers and poets, the Mordechai Gebirtigs and the Itzik Mangers, but also the great contemporary Yiddish poets, your Michael Gowenders, and two of the songs on the record were poems that Moish had written that Chasky set to music, and then we all recorded together.
Is there a thread that ran through the selection of the songs, or was it just, recognition of Gebirtig, recognition of Munger, two poems by Michael, and then other songs that to which you felt emotionally connected? Or was there something that tied them together?
Well, for me, my memory is it was mostly about choosing the songs we loved, and we were kind of not just classic Yiddish songs, but classics in our family, songs that we had grown up with and sung at so many, just in beautiful times with family members who are no longer with us. And they were just almost mythological songs for us in our family. And also, like Gideon said, we wanted to include songs from not all of, but many of the great Yiddish songwriters and poets.
Great. Husky, for you, two of the songs, as we've spoken about, were poems that your father had written. How hard was it for you, and I'm not speaking from a musical perspective, but how hard was it for you to put those poems to music, wanting to pay respect to the beautiful poetry that had been written, but also having to distance yourself as a musician from that to set them to music?
I had an interesting experience setting those poems to music. It was unexpected because when I think about it in retrospect, it's a lot of pressure. It was my dad's poems. The poems were very poignant and meaningful to him and to all of us as a family. They spoke about things like our grandparents, and Gideon's great-grandparents, your grandparents too, Alan, your parents, grandparents.
Grandparents, yep.
Yeah. But my experience was very strange. I remember Dad gave me 10 poems, and 10 or so poems, and I remember taking them back to my house and I sat down and read through them, and it was clear straight away which two poems I wanted to write music to. And especially with Fadil Alid, with Toyman as well, but especially with Fadil Alid, I had finished writing the music within 10 minutes. It was just, and that's not usual for me. It usually takes me a long time to write a song. It usually takes me days or weeks even. And both these songs just came to me very quickly, as if they were not really coming from me. That was the experience I had. I don't know what that means. Everyone can decide for themselves, but that's what it felt like. And after about half an hour, I remember I drove over to Mum and Dad's place, and you were there, Evie. Do you remember?
Of course.
And I sat and played them the songs, and we all cried, including me. We all sat and cried while I sang them the songs.
You know, a lot of people cry when they hear that song. It's something. Yeah, it's beyond. Like, you can't explain it, and it's the words and the music together and what it created. But it's created a song where, you know, you just look around and everybody's crying, you know, during that song.
I've shared this with Gideon, but I don't know that I have with Evie and Husk. But I had that reaction to Rozenkus mit Mandlin, and I can't remember if Chachi, our granddaughter, was with us. But I put the CD on, and the record started, and I think Rozenkus with Mandlin, is that the first track?
First, yeah.
And I reckon I lasted about 15 seconds before I just started to cry. And Sandy's sitting there looking at me. I'm not a crier normally, but I just couldn't contain it. And it was a combination of things. It was the absolute beauty of the music. It was the fact that you guys had done it, and that my parents and your grandparents weren't there to hear this, and how proud they would have been and overwhelmed by what you guys had done. For me, it was just a unique moment. Can I ask you a different kind of question now? Zolshon Kumandigaula, a song that we have sung, I don't know, for how many years at the Seder tables. You invited Rabbi Heilbrunn to be part of this musical project. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, Rabbi Heilbrunn was the rabbi at St Kilda Shul, where we had our bar mitzvahs. So I guess my first memories of Heilbrunn, I guess kind of two things. I mean, firstly, just marveling at how his voice would absolutely just fill every part of that building. If you know that building, it's beautiful, and it's huge, and you know, you felt like you could kind of sit anywhere in that shul, and his voice, just the power of his voice was really quite remarkable. I also remember sitting around having bar mitzvah lessons, and just trying my best to hold back fits of laughter while Chaskin and my brother Benjamin tried to make me laugh. But another thing is that when we went to launch the album, me and Chask went around to Heilbrunn's place for a quick rehearsal, and I remember sitting at the piano and playing a short little intro to bring him in. And when he started singing, his voice just kind of cut through us. It almost hurts your ears, being next to him while he's singing. His voice, his instrument is that powerful.
He really is a force of nature. I also remember when we recorded the song. So we recorded the album at Woodstock Studios in Balaclava, and I remember when he arrived, he sort of like blew in, and he said, "Okay, I've got an hour park outside. Let's get to it." We hadn't practiced. We hadn't even spoken to him about what we were doing other telling him, that we wwere singing that he was going to sing Zol Shoin Kumandigula. And he said, "Where do I go?" And we had the mic set up, luckily. And he went up to the mic, and the band was kind of, everyone sort of discussed, roughly what they would do. And, Rabbi Halbram almost just kind of counted everyone in, did one take of it, absolutely nailed it, and walked out and said, "Okay, I got to go, thank you," and kind of just left. And we were all just sitting there like dumbstruck, sort of looking at each other as if, did that actually just happen? It was really
what
amazing.
just happened?
And if you listen to his performance on the CD, it's mind blowing.
Mm.
Yeah.
For Gideon and Husk in particular, but Evie's also been involved. You're key members of Yid, a big band that sets Yiddish music to a jazz kind of theme. Evie, you performed with them in Toronto, and Gideon and Husk still have an ongoing involvement with it. Now, you're involved in two very different Yiddish projects that are bringing Yiddish music, to people who've never engaged with it in the past. What does that feel like for you when you, either as Bashevis Singers or as Yid, you're performing and you look out and there are people in the audience from the ages of 9 to 90 singing and dancing and being involved in ways that we never could have imagined?
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, honouring the incredible rich history of Yiddish music is really important, and what both Bashevis Singers and Yid give to the kind of older Yiddish speaking generation of our community is also really important to me. But the most incredible thing for me is looking out from the stage and seeing young kids, from really, really young kids to kind of teenage kids dancing and singing along and just loving Yiddish music. That's something that I never imagined seeing or experiencing. So, and that's kind of a miracle for me.
Yeah, my favourite moment was, I mean, there've been lots of moments, but my favourite moment with the Bashevis Singers was when we did the bushfire relief concert, and we did it, and all the skiff kids were there, and all the, and so there were heaps of teenagers and, young people and whatever, and towards the end of the show, they came up to the front and, created their version of a mosh pit. And there were little kids there as well, like, really little kids. And it was amazing watching all of them dancing and singing along to the music and, stopping in the instrumental bits and going crazy. And it was the coolest thing to think that Yiddish music is cool. It was very amazing,
It's cool and alive.
I think
and alive, yeah.
It's right. Alive. To feel like it's alive, like this music, it's folk music. It's music. Yeah. It's music for the people and music by the people. And this thing happens when we sing in Yiddish. And I think we've all described this in different ways, but it's almost as if it's not just your voice that comes out when you sing in Yiddish. It's the voice of hundreds and thousands and of other people, of years and years and years and years of history and culture and joy and suffering, and all of those emotions and all of those magic, things come out when you sing.
It's like magic.
It's different.
Sort of. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I can tell you that it reaches the audience in that kind of way too. And I say that because at one of the Yid concerts, I think you did a Yid concert at the Habonim Hall, and Sandy overheard two young women speaking. When I say young women, they were 19 or 20. And one said to the other, have you ever seen Yid perform before? And the other one replied, no, I haven't. And she said, well, this is going to be the best night of your life. So that's the impact. That's the impact that you're having on teenagers. And I know people in their 70s and 80s can't get enough of it either. So you've struck a responsive chord that spans 3 or even 4 generations. So it's quite remarkable. Finally, guys, future plans for Bashevis Singers, are there any?
Yes.
Why don't you sum it up?
Well,
Eve?
I don't know if I can sum it up, but obviously we definitely have plans for the future. We'd like to record at some point, record some more songs, maybe some more original songs, some songs that the original songs, doing the original songs was extremely special. So I think that would be a priority in the future, to do some more originals. But we also would like, there are songs that we missed out on in the last album because we couldn't put everything on the album that we'd still love to record. And there are songs that, you know, my mum dreams of us recording, and there are so many amazing songs. We also, like not that long ago, played a gig at Southside, which was part of the Jewish Film Festival, and we sang Bella Ciao, which is one of my favourite songs, and we did it in Yiddish and in Italian, and I think it would be nice to record something like that too, because it feels pretty special, and we definitely want to play live. At the moment we can't, but we definitely have plans for playing at festivals and live in the future, and playing, and also just getting together and playing Yiddish songs and seeing what works and what we love and arranging. And yeah, that's I think there's a future.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the audience reaction tells you that there's a future. So once these Michigan times have passed, we look forward to more from the Bashevis Singers. So to Gideon, Husk and Evie, thank you for your time today, and thank you for the beautiful music that you've been producing, and we look forward to hearing more of it.
Ob der Rumet los nicht ruhen, singen mir a Lied. Ist nicht da kein bissel Bronfen, lass mir trinken Mayim Chaim ist doch Chaim, was darf noch Chaim? Soll schon kommen die Geule, soll schon kommen die Geule, soll schon kommen die Geule, Mashiach kommt schon bald, soll schon kommen die Geule, soll schon kommen die Geule, soll schon kommen die Geule, Mashiach kommt schon bald.
Thank you for joining us today in our discussion with Evie and Chasky Gawenda and Gideon Preiss, who together are the Bashevis Singers. We hope you enjoyed our time together, and we look forward to you joining us next time. Until then, bleibt in daheim und bleibt gesund.